Hey guys, Seb.k here, how you doing? What I have in front of me today is the next expansion for Operation Kaldstrom and Code 1. And what this is a Beyond box. Now, Beyond boxes have been around for a while if you're an old school Infinity player. What they are is basically whenever Corvus Belli releases a dual army starter pack, they also then release another box that will bring those two armies up to either 300 points, which was the old system, or 30 points for Code 1. And in doing so, they usually introduce some very, very important key units, and usually some extra units as well, models that weren't normally available in the army, and some new sculpts, in which case today we actually have quite a few new sculpts for units that have either been in Infinity for a while, or some beautiful new profiles that they've introduced for both Code 1 and Infinity Normal. So let's have a look inside. Ooh, packed tightly these days, apparently. This is always the case, of course, when you're doing an unboxing. The thing won't come out of the box. Okay, so right now we have this really nice Corvus Belli packaging that they've introduced for all of their boxes. And inside we have the 6 figures. So I'm going to talk a bit about each of these profiles as I go through these figures as well, because I think it's really important for you to know why you should play these models and why you should get this box, because I think it is really, really handy and gives you some really interesting options on the field. So let's get some of these out. Now, by now, you guys should be familiar with the fact that Corvus Belli make metal models. They make beautiful metal models. It's one of the reasons why I play the game. Well, many, many reasons. And as always with these models, you're going to have to remove quite a bit of extra metal. So let's have a look inside here. You can see that there's extra bits hanging off. So you should always have your clippers, your files handy. Make sure that you get rid of some mold lines as well. They're reducing the number of mold lines that are obvious on these models by sort of careful planning with their sculpts. But in the case of some of these models, you will still find mold lines that run right down the middle of armor and so on and so forth. So you really need to pay attention to that if you want nice smooth surfaces for painting, because these things can be really obvious. I myself have been painting Infinity models for a couple of years and I still miss them. So always pay attention to that before you build your models. So the first one we have here is the Yimao infantry. So the Yimao has a lot of different options. He's what's called a medium infantry in the sense that he's got a slightly higher than normal armor value. And he has some linkable options in normal Infinity as it stands. We are awaiting a N4 update, so that might change. But as it stands, he's got some really interesting Harris options in normal Infinity as well. He's also got the Harris option baked into his profile, which is kind of unique. It means that you have to pay extra points or SWC for having that option, but this model actually gets it's standard, so you can build things around him. In the case of White Banner, in which this guy's going to feature quite heavily. In White Banner, you're able to use wild cards to create quite interesting 3-man teams with this guy, so he is kind of important and a bit of a cornerstone. As it stands though, he's got a lot of good options. This is the Spitfire option, which I think is probably the best one you could have put in this box, because you're going to see that quite a lot. He's generally very, very good, and I think you should definitely include him, and I will be showing a painted version of all of these models in a couple of weeks' time, so there'll be sort of like an additional video to this one. The next here, I believe this is yes, this is JingQi. Now, this is an interesting bit of pronunciation here. I had to look it up. I believe it's JingQi, even though it's sort of spelled QO as her second name, but I believe it's JingQi straight up. Now, this character is really fascinating. As it stands in Code 1, she has the ability to shoot. She's imposing negative mods on your opponent. She's very, very good in close combat. There is a bit of a caveat with that, though, that if you're using models that are very good in close combat but don't have any deployment skills, as she does not, and she is quite expensive, she will have to walk up the table to get to her target to really leverage that really, really good close combat potential. However, She does have the ability to shoot. I believe she has a multi-marksman rifle, or just a multi-rifle, actually, I believe it is, which has definitely got some utility and will allow her to take some firefights on her way to her eventual target. She's also one of the best models I've seen them release in a long time. She's got a really, really beautiful pose. I don't know if you can see it here, but I'll flash a picture up on the screen so you can see a close-up version of her, because she is really spectacular and a beautiful model to paint, and I'm looking forward to doing that one definitely. Here we've got the Locust. So the Locust is a profile that's been around for a long time. This is the first new sculpt we've had in a while as well, probably over 2 years. This is the multi-marksman rifle version, and I think that in terms of White Banner, in terms of Winter Force, there are two profiles that do a very similar job, the Noken and the Locust. The Noken you get in the Operation Kaldstrom main pack, and I think that's the cornerstone of that army. I think you'll see that unit a lot. And the Locust brings a few extra profiles to the table, and a couple of extra weapons. Here we've got the multi-marksman rifle, the marksman rifle, isn't it? I don't know why I want to keep saying multi, but never mind. So as a marksman rifle's got a better range than your average rifle, better plus bands, and is generally more effective as a weapon, especially when combined with his ability to put a -6 on your opponent. Again, this model has what we used to call ODT, and it's mimetism -6 in Code 1. And that's really devastating for winning firefights. So this is not a bad guy for your midfield firefights. And if you'll find yourself that you need just an extra gunfire, the marksman rifle doesn't cost any XWC, so he's a good thing to add into your Code 1 force. In normal Infinity, he's got a lot of profiles to compete with, so you may not see this guy every time, but you will see him quite a lot because he still has a few things that other units don't have. Next up, we have the ShangG. So this is an interesting one. The ShangG has not had a new sculpt in I don't know how long, possibly 4 to 6 years, maybe longer. The ShangG was one of the original heavy infantry for Yujing, and they were one of the first factions released for Infinity all those years ago when the game was first created. And he's been stuck with his same sculpt for a very, very long time. I wish I could show you the original sculpt. I did have a one point, but I no longer do. But he used to come up to about here on this model, right? So this model is a full head taller than the original sculpt, and really does look the part. The ShangG has extra armor, a host of heavy weapon options. He's basically the mainstay of White Banner as a faction, but also one of the useful heavy infantry options you get in Code 1. He also has a couple of things, like the rocket launcher, so on, that you won't see on other units, although I'm not sure in Code 1 if the rocket launchers or missile launchers are as good as other things, because we haven't seen, there are no template options in Code 1's rulebook at the moment for direct templates, the circular ones. But as a heavy infantry, the high armor and weapon options make him still a very, very good choice if you have the extra points and you have that SWC. And it's just nice to see a new sculpt. It's pretty damn beefy. So here, this is the base for the Borg, because the Borg is absolutely huge. So this is the Borg soldier. I'll be flashing pictures up on screen because it's just so much easier than showing you on a camera what the painted model looks like and out of the box. But here you can see his absolutely ridiculous missile launcher variant. Now what's cool about this model is that this is a bigger silhouette model for Pan-Oceania, and they haven't had one yet. A lot of the other factions have had a model that's got an extra large silhouette, sort of in the middle between a heavy infantry and a tag. And this is Pan-Oceania's first sort of version of that. I think the Borg is actually quite useful. A lot of people who comment on units for Infinity and Code 1 are not too happy with this guy because he's quite expensive and has options that are sort of doubled elsewhere in the army. But I think a guy with this high armor value and the extra burst when he gets when shooting in both Code 1 and Infinity can make his missile launcher or his Mark 12 variant really dangerous. And the Mark 12 specifically is quite dangerous because normally it's a burst 3 weapon with high damage. He makes it a burst 4 weapon, with its existing high damage, and you don't pay SWC for it. It's like a big rifle. So what's cool about that is that if you've spent all your SWC and you've still got the points to spend on this guy, you get to put another decent gun in there on a really heavy, hard to kill platform, multiple wounds, high armor, and you get to do that with no SWC. So that can be quite handy. If you're building small lists, you will be in Code 1, and if in Infinity, if you want to stick to 10 models, he can actually be a really decent option for doing that. Here is his base. Don't know if you can see, he comes on a really nice tactical base that I think is just huge, and it's going to be really fun to get into. Actually, I've got to plan that one out, but you will see it in a few weeks, guys, so stay tuned for that. Here, I believe, yes, this is going to be the Vaulsc Spitfire. So the Vaulsc is the Pano, Xinyan, and Winterforce equivalent of the Yimao that I mentioned earlier. It's a medium infantry unit that has some interesting weapon options. In normal Infinity, he's linkable. In Code 1, he just has a few options that other units don't have. This one, I believe, comes with the Spitfire variant. Again, that's the model you're going to see a lot of. It's a really good profile, lots of dice, a decent extra gun, so that's definitely something that you should include. I think this box overall is very good for options to add to your army. I think it has a lot of very useful units. I don't know if I went over the Yimao, but yes, we did. So we did the Yimao. We've done everything now. Gosh, that was rather quick. But yeah, I think this box has a lot of really cool stuff that I think you should get. Not only are the models beautiful, but I think the profiles themselves are going to see a lot of use, and it's going to be an interesting addition to be able to chop and change things in your army. And I think these guys, combined with the new robots that are coming out, the new various bots for both Yujing and Pano, are going to add a lot of variety and a lot of options to your army that I think you should invest in. But that's my review of the and unboxing of Beyond Kaldstrom for Infinity Code 1 and regular Infinity. You guys can follow me on Instagram at Seb.k Miniatures. I'm currently working on something completely unrelated, which is a Pimp My Mortarion project. It's one of the reasons why I've got a plaster on my thumb. I had a fight with Mortarion earlier. Basically, I'm tarting up one of my friend's Mortarions, so if you are interested in seeing how I'd paint one of those and my Infinity models, I'm currently working my way through a Tohar Gorgos, which is a very old model. It took me almost 6 months to get hold of one to complete my Tohar army. I'm working on that bit by bit as well, so if you want to see the progress on that, you can follow me on Instagram as well. Also, of course, Tabletop Republic, we have a ton of extra videos, things you can check out, tactical stuff. Some of my terrain videos are now going up there as well. But for all things Infinity, you know, stick to Tabletop Republic. I am Seb.k, and I will see you guys in the next one. Cheers.